Hey, horse friends, I'm Becca Salamone, and this is Southern Horse Talk. Welcome back to another episode of Horse Crazy Girls with Sydney Englund, right here on Southern Horse Talk every month. And she comes to talk to guests about different topics in the horse world and things that she's involved with her website. And we're just so pleased to have her on every month. And this month, she's brought someone really special and has got lots of great information for those college-bound kids. She brought Randi Heathman. She is the founder and owner of Equestrian. Oh, I gotta find it. Where is it? What's your business, Randi?
It's the Equestrian College Advisor.
Sorry about that. Lost my notes. and I was reading about all that this morning. It's really, really a needed service, and I'm sure you work with folks all over the country on that. So what I do is that I'm doing Southern Horse Talk, and we have the Southern Horse Talk Facebook group where we have people come and share the Southern equine lifestyle. So we invite people to come over there and do that, and also to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But what we're doing today is we're going to have Sydney ask you the questions and interview you. So I'm going to turn it over to Sydney now.
All right.
Okay, so I thought we would just begin so you could tell everyone a little bit about what you do and your background, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are riders and want to go to college and may be thinking about equestrian. So if you could just fill us in and sort of what you do and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, real briefly, I came into this career from the college admissions side of things. So I worked in admissions for almost 10 years. And what was unique was that I was at a small private liberal arts college that had an equestrian program. And so I was not only doing the traditional recruiting, I was recruiting football kids and music kids and everything under the sun, but I was also working specifically with the equestrian program to help identify students that would be a good fit for the school in that program. And the final 2 years that I worked for my institution, I was the recruitment coordinator for equestrian. So I packed up my office in the admissions office and I moved my office to the barn, and it was my job to go out on the road and help recruit students. We had 3 equestrian teams. We had a hunt, seat, a western, and a dressage. So I spent a lot of weekends at a lot of trade fairs and recruiting showcases and things, just looking for students. And what I learned through that process over the course of the time that I was there was that a lot of students had no idea how to find the right college for them that also let them continue with their riding goals. And that was the key, because a lot of students, in my opinion, make the mistake of looking only at schools that they've seen an ad for in a horse magazine or that they've heard of as being one of the NCAA programs or through winning the IHSA Nationals, and they focus so deeply on that they forget that there's a whole other side to college as well. So when I left the higher ed side of things, I stayed involved, but I kind of switched sides of the desk, and now I work for the students and not for the colleges.
Okay, wonderful. So you were talking about how you sort of did this recruiting program and so forth. So where did you look for recruits for these riding programs? Were there certain events?
Every college or university has internal institutional goals. And so they are not only looking for, in this case, equestrians, but they also need, for example, they maybe want more women in science, and so they're recruiting women who are interested in those programs, or maybe it's a year when they need more history majors. And so I had to be mindful of what our institution needed from year to year, in addition to riders. So I was traveling. I'm here in the Midwest, and so we were a very Midwest heavy institution and where our students were coming from. So I traveled to a lot of the trade fairs and the equine expositions. We would go to high school. We did a lot with the Interscholastic Equestrian Association because that's always a good place to find a lot of high school kids in one location. We also did a lot with the United States Pony Club. So we kind of focused on where we could locate the most kids in the shortest amount of time.
Okay. And you were talking about before it was a smaller school, liberal arts, and then we also started talking about the sciences. So I know for me, because I'm thinking about going into pre-med, to a pre-med program or something with a really strong science so that I can get into medical school farther down the line, that when I'm looking at a lot of these smaller colleges that do have the riding programs, I don't tend to see the stronger science and math pull. Am I just looking at the wrong colleges? Are there more smaller riding ones that do have these programs available?
There are a lot of small schools that have very strong science programs. There was a long period of time, we kind of cycle in higher education. So there was a long period of time when the liberal arts were kind of out of fashion, as it were, and you were hearing about STEM all the time. So it was science, technology, engineering, and math. And so the liberal arts kind of have had a resurgence in the last couple of years as they've been reminding people that we are, in fact, liberal arts and sciences institutions. And granted, not all liberal arts colleges have the strongest science programs, but many do. So, for example, a student like yourself who's looking to go into a pre-medical program, or even a student who's looking to go into a pre-veterinary program, the main thing that you want to look for is that they have excellent lab facilities, because that's going to be something that's emphasized for you when you get to the next step, which is medical school or in veterinary school. So you want excellent lab facilities. You want the opportunity to do research as an undergraduate, because that's something that's going to be a big part of your graduate program as well. And finally, you want to know what their placement rates are. So many schools produce a lot of pre-medical or pre-veterinary students every year and are obviously sending them on somewhere. So how well are they placing them? How many are they placing every year? So that you can know what your outcomes will likely be.
Okay. So would you say that looking at the placement rates and making sure that they have things sort of tailored to what you want to go into are when riders are looking at colleges? Because I know for me, I hear about these fabulous riding programs and get totally distracted by anything else they have to say. Do you recommend that those are the three major things they should look at in the school that the schools they're looking towards?
Well, I think generally with, for example, high school seniors or high school juniors who are just starting the search, there are those two tracks. So there are the students who have an idea of what they want to do. So you fall into that boat. So absolutely, you want to look at not only the riding. Maybe don't start with the riding if you're going to get distracted and go, ooh, shiny, indoor arena, great school horses, I'm done. Maybe start with the academics. But then there are a lot of students I know that don't necessarily know what they want to do. And they might know what they like and what they don't like, but that's it. And so it's very easy to find schools that are riding. It's more important to look at the academic programming that's available. And so, for example, if the student knows for a fact that they don't want to be a pre-medical student, that they're not interested in the sciences, and that their strengths are maybe in the English area or history or the fine arts, then look for schools that have those strong programs and where you're going to have a lot of opportunity to explore in those areas before you have to declare a major. And let's remember, at the college level, there are a lot of programs and opportunities available for students academically that you don't get in high school. High school is you take your English and your science and your math and your social studies, and you maybe build in a couple of electives. There are majors in college that aren't even touched on at the high school level. So students need to have an open mind going in to their academic opportunities. But you know, that number one thing is the academics, because I hear from a lot of parents that my student needs to fund their own riding career after college. We'll get them into college. You know, we certainly encourage that the riding continues, whether it's with an IHSA program or something with the NCAA or whatever. But after that, got to get a good job, support the horse, support the riding career. So it's most important to look at what your academic opportunities are going to be and what career opportunities are going to be available to you after you graduate.
Yeah, my parents have the same philosophy. They're tired of their bank accounts being drained by me.
That's right.
So, I know a lot of my friends, because, like you said, they're undecided. They have no idea what they want to do in college. They're starting to look at bigger colleges because they feel that those will have more options for them. Do you feel that that is a sort of a good path for someone who doesn't know to go to something a little bit bigger so they have more options? or maybe sort of try to narrow it down a little bit and go to a school that is a little bit smaller and just take those classes that they offer? Which, is there one path that's better than the other?
It really depends on the student, because regardless of the size of your high school, the size of the high school that you graduate from has nothing to do with the size of the college that you should attend. So I think sometimes, yeah, you look at that list of majors and a school has 85 majors and another school only has 32, and the logic is, well, this is, 50 more opportunities as opposed to this other school. But I don't think that takes into consideration the type of learning that the student needs to do or the type of support that either they need or are accustomed to. So for example, a student coming from a small high school is used to being known by their name, their siblings. Oh, I remember I had your brother in history class, that kind of thing. And everyone knows who you are, and you can easily go to a teacher to ask a question and get extra homework help if you need it. And sometimes that doesn't happen at a bigger school, and so you may feel out of sorts, you may get confused, overwhelmed, because you may not have the same level of access to a professor. It might be a teaching assistant, and maybe you have great access to a teaching assistant and it works for you. So what I tell students is, when you first start the search, if you're looking for a specific program, look for specific programs, but if you are undecided, start with schools that are near you and go visit a campus. Go visit a small school and go visit a big school, and you're going to have a stark enough difference in the visit program and in the vibe of the school that should give you an example and an idea of, okay, I really liked the excitement of the big school. I could see myself advocating for myself in classes and sitting in these big lectures, and that excites me. Or I was overwhelmed by the big school. I really liked the personal touch that I felt at the small school, and I talked to them about my interests, and it sounds like I'm going to be able to do that, even though the list of majors is shorter.
Okay. And so when we met at the college fair, I noticed that a lot of the riding programs were at smaller private colleges rather than bigger state ones. I didn't see any in Florida that were state colleges or anything like that. So in private colleges, they tend, from what I've seen, to run a little bit more expensive. So are there programs that are offered not at private colleges? And if they're only really private, are there scholarships that riders can get when going in?
Yes and yes. So with the sticker price of a private college and the sticker price of a public state university, generally what I tell students is look at, as you're getting to know the college and as you're doing your research, and every college in the United States now is required by the federal government to have a net price calculator on their website. And what a net price calculator does is you plug in your grades and test scores, if you know them, your family's income from the last year, and you can, kind of use a ballpark number if that's easier. But you plug that information in, and the school will then send back to you an estimate, essentially, of what your first year at that school might cost. And some of the schools have a really robust calculator that's going to calculate down to the penny and be very close to accurate. Some of them are a little bit less accurate. They just kind of spit back the federal formula and what you may be eligible for. So you'll kind of get a sense if you go through a few of them with schools that you're interested in. But with the price, there are private colleges that can be less expensive than a public university, thanks to generous scholarships, grants, financial aid, that kind of thing. And there are state universities that, for example, if you're going outside your home state, are going to cost you 3 times what it would if you attend a university in your home state. So, the cost is a little bit of a moving target depending on your grades and test scores, your family's financial situation, and the schools that you're looking at. So you certainly keep cost in mind. I mean, that's a very important consideration for everybody, but it's a little more fluid, I think, than people necessarily realize when they start looking. And in terms of the equestrian programs, A lot of the smaller schools have full ownership of their programs. They own the facility, they own the horses, the coaches are full-time employees of the school. And so there's that control element, whereas with a lot of the larger schools that don't have that same control and essentially financial buy-in, the students are running the club themselves. And so they're riding in a private barn. And there's good and bad to both. There's different costs associated with both. So some of the private colleges, if you're on the team, everything is funded for you except for maybe your riding lessons and bringing or purchasing your own clothes for showing. Whereas at the other schools, you might be paying for everything. Transportation to shows, entry fees, membership fees, lessons, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're looking, I mean, ask the questions. Talk with people who are involved in the programs and find out what the associated costs are for the semester or for the year to participate in riding at that particular school. Find out how many days a week they're riding, what the transportation costs are, and the schedule to and from the barn, because the barn may not be close to campus. And kind of, you can create essentially a budget going in and know within a few $100s what it's going to cost you. And then a lot of students are great fundraisers. So these clubs run phenomenal fundraisers to help offset those costs every year, which looks great on your resume coming out of college if you've been a leader and you've helped organize these things. I just spoke with a college student last week who said it's funny, she's applying to graduate schools and no one has asked her a single thing about her major or her GPA or anything like that, because they have it. They have a copy of her transcript. They know what her numbers are and what she majored in. And they're not interested in that. They want to know about the leadership opportunities that she's had as a college equestrian, what challenges she's faced, and what she's learned.
Interesting. Okay. I think that those were my major questions. I don't know if Rebecca has any for you.
Yeah. I'd seen your video on your website, and it mentioned 400 colleges that have equestrian opportunities. And I had no idea there were that many. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, and by opportunity, I want to be clear that it's not just, we have a hunt seat team, or not just having, a team that competes within a certain organizational structure. But I believe, I don't remember the number that they gave us at the College Prep Invitational Horse Show last weekend, 2 weekends ago now. They are flirting with about 400 schools within the Intercollegiate Horse Shows Association, the IHSA. But you have opportunities to compete in that structure. You have opportunities to compete. The NCAA is retaining equestrian moving forward, so there are NCAA opportunities. There's a program called the American National Riding Commission, the ANRC, which is based on the United States Hunter Jumper Association system of forward riding. And it encompasses, it's a team of 4, and they do a written test, a flat test, they jump a hunter course in an arena, and then they jump, it's kind of a handy around outside in the field, and it kind of depends on where the competition is, whether they're truly in the field or whether they're just kind of outside with some brush jumps. So you have the ANRC. There is college polo, there is college rodeo, there's the Intercollegiate Dressage Association, there is an intercollegiate organization for saddle seat, which is growing, started in Kentucky, but it's kind of starting to spread a little bit now. And I'm sure that I'm missing something in addition to that. There is college level horse judging, so that's typically through the American Quarter Horse Association, but they will go down to quarter horse competitions and do the actual judging of horses both in hand and under saddle, or even, I think on some occasions they might get to do the pleasure driving, which I think is pretty cool. So, I mean, there's a pretty broad spectrum. And then you have students that are just continuing in their own riding careers while they're at college.
Okay. Now, my daughter is going to college in a couple of years, and it's very overwhelming for the parents to think about all the stuff that you're talking about. And and although she's not interested in riding horses, she's more the artistic, creative type, liberal arts, like you were talking about before. what do the parents need to do? What kind of advice do you have for them when the student has no idea what to do to prepare and the parents don't know either?
First thing as a parent, do not panic. That's the first advice that I always give parents. I think it's a matter of particularly when a student has some idea of what they like, so you know where you're starting. But I always recommend people start locally because there's two reasons for that. The number one is students may start the search thinking that they really want to go far from home, and they may discover later that it's kind of nice to be maybe 10 miles away, maybe 30 minutes or an hour, that they have a little bit of that closeness. So it gives you a backup for one thing. But the second thing is when a student's undecided, it does give you that opportunity to just drive an hour from home and see a college campus, and it may well be the one that, quote unquote, everyone in your daughter's school knows, everyone applies there as a backup, and all these rumors or whatever circulate about the academic programs and the campus life and things. But it's a chance to go see it and to experience a college visit, and maybe she doesn't even like the school, but you've done it at a less expensive cost to you, and you've gone through the visit so that you can start to see, okay, this is how campus visits work. Now let's go find some schools that we really are interested in and go see them. I think visiting is the most important thing that you can do because every school sends out the glossy brochures with the happy students, and it's always autumn and sunshiny, and they're all wearing the sweatshirt of the school, and it's perfect, right? Go to the campus in February, which is the ugliest month of the year, no matter what part of the country you're in, and meet the people and talk with them and sit in on classes and try the food in the dining hall and have students do overnights in the dorms and just kind of get a vibe and a sense of what life is like on that campus. And rest assured, as your daughter starts taking the PSAT, I can't remember what the name of the new pre-ACT is. They've changed it to something really fancy. But as all of those tests start happening, the college mail will start rolling in.
Yeah,
and
we got
read it. Check out the websites. You can even do a basic Google search or just a general web search for colleges with strong art programs, and just start reading and surfing on websites. I mean, there's a million websites where people go on and kind of rate colleges and things, and that take it with a grain of salt. People tend to complain on those websites, but do a lot of research and just read and become an educated college shopper. And if you need someone to help you with it, start with the school counselor, and if they're overwhelmed and unable to do it, I'm a member of the Independent Educational Consultants Association and the Higher Education Consultants Association. We have 8,000 members worldwide, and that's what we do, is we walk students through the process, and we walk parents through the process too.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that I met you today because I had no idea what I was going to do because all of the school counselors don't even have time to talk to you.
Yeah. I really
yeah.
Go
ahead.
I feel for school counselors. They have so much on their plates, and that's why I think the independent field has grown, because people want one-on-one assistance, and the school counselors just don't necessarily have the time to do that for them.
Okay. Now, I've got one more question, and I don't know if Sydney does also, but when I was applying to colleges, I applied to, I remember 7 different colleges, and that's back in the days when we had typewriters and we had to use whiteout on our applications. But, I got into all of the colleges except the one that I really wanted to get into, which was Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I was glad that I had applied to all these other ones that I got into. So how many should people apply to?
I recommend that students apply somewhere between 4 and 6. I think basically don't apply to any more colleges than A, you are actually serious about, that you would actually go if they accepted you, and B, that you actually have the time to put into getting to know them and evaluating them. I have had students apply to as few as 2 schools, and we had a very strategic reason for doing that. We had much confidence that she would be admitted to both, and she was admitted to both, and so then it was a pretty easy, well, it wasn't an easy choice for her because she really liked them both, which was why we had put them on the list. But yeah, 4 to 6 is a good and reasonable number. And if you've picked them, if you've done your homework, which is the main thing, doing all that research, putting the time in, you'll have a good idea of your chances of acceptance, as well as what you're going to see in terms of the outcome if you attend any of those schools.
Okay. And I just thought of one more question. I'm sorry. Can you kind of give a brief overview of, if you're going to be using an educational consultant, what the process is and what the cost is? Is it per hour or per whole session, or how is that done?
The process is pretty straightforward. Everyone kind of has their own. I mean, that's where the word independent comes in with educational consultant. Everyone kind of has their own process based on their own experiences and how they like to work with families. Typically, you'll start in the spring or summer of a student's junior year. There are a lot of consultants that'll help work with students on like choosing curriculum and things when they're in 9th and 10th grade. But mostly we like to get them early on junior year and spend that time doing the research and laying the foundation so that senior year we can get those applications in. So that's a pretty good timeline, and that's pretty traditional across the board. Costs are going to vary based on what part of the country you're in. In New England, it tends to be a little bit more expensive than, say, in Texas. You really, the beauty of modern technology is that you can work with a consultant who's anywhere. I live in Michigan. I have one student in the state of Michigan this year, and we meet face-to-face. All of my other clients are in different regions, different time zones, and thanks to the beauty of Skype, FaceTime, and the Google Hangout, it's like I'm in their living room. So that doesn't affect us in any way. But you can do a comprehensive package with most educational consultants where you would either pay in 1 or 2 installments. Many of them also do have hourly packages, and so they will let you choose. I know some consultants will say if you buy, 6 hours, they're yours to use however you want, and will kind of, be a little bit more free form. Other consultants say you could go on my hourly package and we're going to still structure it this way. You really can just shop around, but those 2 main organizations that I mentioned, the Independent Educational Consultants Association and the Higher Education Consultants Association, those are kind of the bar, because every counselor who's a member of those organizations has to adhere to very, very strong ethical and professional guidelines. So the schools can't bias and they can't influence us in any way. We work, number one, the best interests of the students and the families.
Awesome. Well, this has been wonderful advice. I really appreciate you coming on. Sydney, do you have any more questions for her?
No, that's it.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, Randi, why don't you tell us again your web address where people can find your information?
Yep. It's a little bit of a lengthy web address, but the name of my practice is the Equestrian College Advisor. So I'm at www.equestriancollegeadvisor.com, and it is advisor OR, so I know sometimes the spelling gets in the way. But I'm also on Twitter at College Riding, Facebook as the Equestrian College Advisor, and I have a blog on WordPress. It's called The Leg Up. So I kind of am out there in the social media world, and I wrote a book on the topic of finding a college riding program that's available from Amazon, either in paperback or Kindle form. Also a lengthy title. It's called Horses for Courses, the Prospective College Equestrians, the Definitive Guide for the Prospective College Equestrians. See, it's so long, sometimes I don't even remember the full.
Well, it tells it exactly what it's about, so that's good. Now,
it tells you what it's about.
Do you have speaking engagements where people can go and see you in person?
My next speaking opportunity is going to be at the College Prep Invitational West, which is at the LA Equestrian Center the second weekend of March.
Okay, great.
I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but it is the second weekend of March, so we'll be in Burbank, California, and I've not finalized the topics. I know one of them will be the general college search. At the CPI East 2 weeks ago, I did one on horse careers, or actually it was non-riding careers in the equine industry, so I may duplicate that one again, but it's not confirmed.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So, and you do travel all over the country to speak, is that right?
I do. I kind of go where they invite me, so.
All right, so maybe you'll get some invitations out of this.
Invite me. I'm good dinner company. Invite me to your town. I'll do a talk. It's fun.
There you go. Well, Sydney, go ahead and share your information too as well.
Okay, and so if you guys want to do any more horsey stuff, horsecrazygirls.com is my website, and then from there you can go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that fun social media. So you can look us up.
Awesome. And that's a great site for all the horse crazy kids, not just girls. And folks, I appreciate you watching, and please join us every month for Sydney's Horse Crazy Girls, a segment on Southern Horse Talk, and also go over and join the Southern Horse Talk Facebook group. Again, join the conversation over there about your Southern equestrian lifestyle. Share your pics and your videos and your own horse story. And, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get updates on the next episodes. All right. Thank y'all for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies.